For 25 years, the Audi A4 has defined the essence of everything our cars represent. The epitome of a classic. The new Audi A4 is the classic reborn, redefining Ireland's most popular Audi model with cutting-edge technology and state-of-the-art design, giving you a driving experience that's sleeker, smarter, and sportier than ever before. Test drive the new Audi A4 today. Audi. Vorsprung durch Technik. For 25 years, the Audi A4 has defined the essence of everything our cars represent. The epitome of a classic. The new Audi A4 is the classic reborn, redefining Ireland's most popular Audi model with cutting-edge technology and state-of-the-art design, giving you a driving experience that's sleeker, smarter, and sportier than ever before. Test drive the new Audi A4 today. Audi. Vorsprung durch Technik.
Hey guys, it's the Sports Center. This is Brad Walker, and you are on Tampa Talk. This is Monday night. We're going to be touching this week, guys. This is part of the Stables Network and part of NGSC Sports Network. This evening, we will be touching on USF, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Rays, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. You can catch me, guys, live through the Zoom app or on Facebook, on my personal Facebook page. You can join me there, as well as I have a live feed. You come on and join me on there. But go ahead, guys. Like I said, this is Tampa Talk. This will be all about Tampa sports. And you know what? Let's go ahead and start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yes, that's right. We celebrate a Victory Monday here in Tampa Bay when the Bucs win. And guess what? We got to celebrate our fourth Victory Monday yesterday as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeated the Detroit Lions in Detroit 38-17. It was a back-and-forth game. In fact, if you got a chance to watch it like I did, Jameis Winston up to his turnover machine was right off the bat. He turned the ball over on the interception on the first drive, but was able to come back from that. And yes, we did, Julia. But they were able to come back. He threw for 4 touchdowns yesterday, 3 to Brashad Perriman, and it was an overall good game for the Bucs. Again, this is their 4th straight win. This is the record. Their record is 7-7, guys. So they're at 500. Who would have thought? A few weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, they were 3-7. Now they're Now they're at 500 with 2 games left on the schedule. Next week, this Saturday coming up, they have the Houston Texans at Raymond James Stadium. That should be an interesting ball game. The Houston Texans, of course, clinched the AFC South yesterday, or part of the AFC South yesterday with the win over the Tennessee Titans. But they'll be here. The Bucs will have to be really on defensively this week when you got Deshaun Watson, who is a running style quarterback and stuff like that. So be prepared. But again, the game is this upcoming Saturday. Usually it's on a Sunday, but due to the fact that being the holidays are right around the corner, it all comes down to the NFL changing the schedule. But again, they did have Winston had 4 touchdowns yesterday. He was 28 of 42 for 458 yards yesterday. The Bucs had 495 yards of total offense. Again, they only had just the 1 turnover, and that would have been the interception. But the Bucs caused 3 turnovers, 2 picks, and a fumble that they were able to accomplish yesterday. The defense held the Lions to 295 total yards. So that was something to say the least. In fact, the defense held the Lions to 4.7 yards per play. And the Lions had more drives than the Bucs did by 1. But again, the Buccaneers did what they do. They continue to play well. The only bad thing that happened yesterday is they lost Chris Godwin, Scotty Miller, both to hamstring injuries. That is going to be interesting down the stretch because they already lost Mike Evans to that same injury earlier today here on local Tampa Bay radio on 620 WDAE, the Ronnie and T-Crash show. Yesterday afternoon, head coach Bruce Arians mentioned that maybe he is running the wide receiver too much in practice, too many drills or whatever could have caused these injuries. I'm not 100% sure how accurate that is, but, we will have to, wait and see what happens down the stretch and how they're going to beat Houston without Chris Godwin and Mike Evans is something else. You're going to have to set up the two tight ends, set up with O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate most likely. You'll see that next week. Maybe they're trying to focus on the running game, which has been non-existent in the last 4 games. In fact, yesterday the Buccaneers had only 49 yards on the ground on 29 attempts, which means they averaged 1.7 yards a carry. The leading rusher was Ronald Jones for 11 carries for 23 yards. That's it, guys. That's it. So they basically have not had a running game. Again, they continue to take the ball away, and they're scoring on those possessions. That's the difference right there, is they're scoring, when they need to. The last 4 weeks have been interesting. Now they have 2 home games left. Again, like I said, this Saturday they play the Houston Texans at Raymond James Stadium. And then in Week 17, they play the Atlanta Falcons, who they already beat earlier this year. But they are now in second place in the NFC South, only behind the New Orleans Saints. So that's something different. And whether this team goes 7-9 or they go 8-8 or 9-7, it's a huge improvement from the 5-11 seasons the last 2 seasons. Of course, now the biggest question now remains is, how do you have to the biggest thing that they're looking at is Shaq Barrett and Jameis Winston. That will have to come down to that. Yes, Rich, he's had back-to-back 450-plus yard passing games. Jameis has. But the defense is going to have to be pretty good. Like I said, they're going to have to be awesome this week, guys, because when you don't have Chris Godwin and you don't have Mike Evans, and Scotty Miller's not really out there either. So now Brashard Perriman's going to have to carry the load. Hyman, who's one of their practice team receivers, has now been active. He caught a ball yesterday. So they're going to have to really depend on that. Look for, big games for Dare Ogunbowale, Ronald Jones, Peyton Barber. Like I said earlier, Cameron Brate, O.J. Howard, they're all going to have to step up offensively. If they're going to beat Houston, like I said, if they go 8-8, guys, it's a huge improvement from last year, the last 2 seasons. Bucs fans need to be happy with that. But like I said, everyone finds something negative to say. Again, they're going to point the finger back that James threw a pick yesterday. So they're going to point the negatives. They got to point the positives as well. That's the problem with every fan base. Everyone finds, everyone's happy. They win. They won 4 in a row. Bucs fans need to be, up about it. They won 4 games in a row. I mean, you should be happy right there, okay? They won 4 games in a row. Now they're looking to win 5 or 6 on the way, coming down the home stretch. If this team goes 9-7 or even 8-8, that would be something great if they finish above 500. Now, again, they're not going to make the playoffs. Unfortunately, they were eliminated from the playoff picture last week. They're not going to make the postseason. That's unfortunate. But, like I said, they've had a hell of a season. They've had a hell of a season, and it has been, it has been something else to see them have such a great season. Again, the questions will be, if they tag Shaq Barrett, that means they're going to have to sign Jameis Winston. What's the contract going to be? Is it going to be a 2-year, $20 million deal? Is it going to be, what kind of money is he going to make? If he continues to play well, and all of a sudden here recently, they're funning and gunning it, meaning that they're just, stepping back, even throwing because it's working. Byron Leftwich has that offense kind of rolling a little bit. Todd Bowles has the defense. I mean, that secondary that we all can pick on has stepped up, including Sean Murphy-Bunting having his first pick six yesterday. Both him and Scotty Miller both got their first touchdowns as NFL players yesterday. So that secondary has gotten better. The defensive line has been outstanding with Nassib, Sue, Shaq Barrett, and, of course, Vita Vea in the middle. And then, of course, if you go to the linebackers, you got Devin White, Levante David. That defense, they need to get the nucleus back together for next year, because if this team stays together, and I think they have a legitimate shot at staying together, if they can bring everybody back, this team can make a run next year at being, a team that is at, 10-6, 11-5, maybe even 12-4 next season, because that's how good this team could be and might be able to be if you bring back all the players back, from this year's team. So count on that. Look for that, for them to try to get everyone to come back next year, because the team definitely is good enough. This year's team, if they can keep the nucleus together, could come back next year and be a force to reckon with. But they are playing very well as of late. And you know what? I mean, it just sucks that they're not going to get a chance at a playoff spot, because if this team gets 2 wins, they're 9-7. That's just, that's something else. Even if they go 8-8, it's not a bad one either. So the Buccaneers, again, guys, won their 4th straight game yesterday. Look for, I'm hoping to come back here next Monday, the eve of Christmas Eve, to say they've won 5 in a row, because that would be kind of cool if they were able to do that against Houston. That's a very good team. A lot of people are pointing the finger at, they beat teams that don't have a winning record. Well, okay, they beat a team yesterday, beat the Colts with a winning record. They beat them. So they've done that. If they go and beat Houston's a playoff team. They can, if they beat them. And I mean, again, we can point back to the beginning of the season too, with the coulda, woulda, shouldas. What would have been if they would have won the San Francisco game, the Giants game, and the Seahawks game? This team right now legitimately would be 10-4. They would be 10-4 heading into the final 2 weeks of the season. So just think about that, guys. Just think about that record. If they had beat those 3 teams, you take the 3 losses away, they're 10-4. They're probably in the playoffs. We're probably talking about a playoff, them having a playoff chance. But again, if they finish 9-7, guys, which I think is a reality, because again, it's going to be tough to play Houston without their big weapons on offense. But to me, this team has a shot at finishing at 9-7, at least 8-8, and that will be the worst that they can finish, I think. I don't see them losing the final 2 games. If they lose on Saturday to the Texans, I don't see them losing to Atlanta in the final week at home. So we'll have to just wait and see what happens. But the Bucs did win their 4th straight yesterday, and again, went through the stats earlier. But they played a hell of a game yesterday as well. So the Bucs, again, guys, now their record stands at 7-7. They have a game this Saturday at 1:00 against the Houston Texans. So I'll be watching, because I will be home. Chuck, I believe they are going to re-sign him. I don't see them not re-signing him. They're going to have to, but I think they tag Shaq Barrett and they sign him to a contract. I don't know what the contract will be, but I think, Chuck, they will bring him back. All right, guys, let me go ahead and jump into the Tampa Bay Rays. Again, not a lot going on because it is the off season, guys. Now that we are in December and we're getting through the month here, we're a few months away from spring training happening. Late February, early March is when you will start to see teams start reporting for spring training, and then we'll be talking about Rays baseball on Mondays here live. But I got some articles that I downloaded over the weekend. So now the Rays went out and signed if I'm pronouncing this guy's name right, pardon me if I'm not, Yasumoto Tsugu, I believe is how you pronounce the guy's name. I'm not 100% sure. But it leaves, with his addition, it still leaves $14 million left for the Rays to sign players. Here is their projected 2020 roster and how much they are making in salary. The highest paid player, one of the highest paid players, is Mike Zunino. He's making $4.5 million. Michael Perez is making $550,000. G-Man Choi's making $850,000. Brandon Lowe's $1.5 million. Willie Adames and Yanni Diaz are both at $550,000. Tizako is, again, the guy I just mentioned. He'll be making $6 million. Kevin Kiermaier's at $10 million. Hunter Renfro's at $3.4 million. Austin Meadows is at $550,000. Daniel Robertson's at $1.1 million. Joey Wendell is at $550,000. Michael Brosbo is at $550,000. Blake Snell's at $7 million. Charlie Morton's at $15 million. Tyler Glasnow $1.9 million. Here's Alvarado, Boucher, Castillo, Pagan, Anderson, Yarborough, Chirinos are all at $550,000. Chaz Rowe at $2.2 million. Oliver Drake at $1.1 million. And Jalen Beeks is at $550,000. So, again, guys, these are kind of like what the Rays have left in salary. But then again, the guy that they signed reportedly yesterday, this happened a couple of days ago. He's been in the Japanese league. He's coming off of a 2019 where he hit 272, 388, and 511, triple with 29 homers in 131 games. He recorded 185 homers over the past 6 years, including a career-high 44 long balls just 3 years ago in 2016. So he is coming to the Rays as an outfielder, but they also think that they're going to use he has, Japan came in outfield. He's also limited experience at both corner, first base, and third base. Signing with the American League Club also gives manager Kevin Cash the option to utilize him as pop as a DH. So look for him to do that. He'll provide a boost to the Tampa offense that ranked 21st in MLB with 217 homers in 2019. Guys, there was a lot of home runs. I think I mentioned that on my other show, the Walker Report. There was almost 6,800 home runs hit last year in Major League Baseball. That is just astronomical with that number. But that is pretty much it. Here are 6 players. This is a Yahoo account by Dominic Vega. Here's 6 players that the Rays may need to add for more offense. They could go out and get DH Edwin Encarnacion. Again, he was with the Cleveland Indians last year. Aviel Garcia. So that would be – he's still with the team. He's talking about leaving. So he would be one of the guys. Shango Akanama, he's a center fielder. He's 31 years old, so he's there. Marcel Ozuna in left field is there. Sterling Marte is another guy that they could bring in. And then, of course, to bring back Steven Souza Jr. That name kind of came up as well. But he would be one of those guys, too, that you could say you could bring back. They need some offense. Again, that was something that with Tommy Pham, they didn't really have too much trouble with a year ago. But now that Tommy Pham is gone, guys, they traded him to San Diego to get Hunter Renfroe, which will add some pop But the thing with Renfroe is, guys, if you know from him, he does one or two things. One, he either hits a homer, or two, he strikes out. So they're going to need to either get him to adjust a little bit, adjust his swing, do whatever they need to do to get him to kind of hit a little bit, not strike out so much, and stuff like that. So the thing that, it comes to be is they're trying to add offense, obviously. They think that they have the right they think they have the right pitching staff where it needs to be. So, that's pretty damn cool that now they can go out and try to get some offensive guys to build around. I mean, you have Austin Meadows, who was a big last year. Now they lost Travis d'Arnaud to the Braves. So they're going to have to go with Mike Perez. And Mike Zunino is going to have to be better at the plate this year, not so much behind it. But, when he's at the plate for hits, it's going to have to come down to that. They're going to have to get better, and I think this team can get better. I mean, as a fan, I think if I was a fan of Boston or New York, I'd be kind of scared right now. The Rays are coming. They've won 90-plus games the last two seasons. Look for them to continue that streak. I really honestly can say I think that they really, in all honesty, can do it. Can they make a run at an AL East championship? Absolutely. Now, they don't have the money, obviously, that the the Red Sox and Yankees have, but they've shown that they can do it without having that kind of, pop. So that, guys, I mean, that kind of breaks it down for the Rays. I mean, again, not a lot of news right now, again, because we are in the off season. Nothing really going on. There was a few trades that went down that weren't Rays, orientated, so really nothing to report there. But they continue to try to make the moves that this team needs now. Further point, if you did not hear last week, Stu Sternberg met with the St. Pete mayor to talk about them possibly leaving the team here. Now, here's the thing. You have Rick Kreisman, who's the mayor here in St. Petersburg, saying that he is not willing to share the team with Montreal. And I think this gave more leeway to Stu Sternberg. And by count it down, guys, 5 years from now, we could very likely be talking about the final Tampa Bay Rays season in St. Pete or in Tampa Bay, because that's when they could legitimately buy out of the Tropicana Field deal. So legitimately, I hate to say fast forward 5 years from now and, it would be that way, but legitimately the Rays could be in Montreal in the start of the 2025-2026 MLB season. Could very likely not have the Tampa Bay Rays anymore, but we'll hope and pray maybe somebody will step up and buy the team in the next 4 years. 5 years from now, maybe we'll have a new owner that wants to keep the team here, wants to work with St. Pete or Tampa to keep the team here. Legitimately, you definitely don't want to lose your team in any way, shape, or form. But like I said, right now, it looks very slim. I think Kreisman thinks he did the right thing. I think on the further hand, I think he just basically handed the keys to the car back over to Silverman and saying, okay, well, that's the way you want to play it, then you know what, we'll just go ahead and we'll move the team when we can in 2024, and I want to move it to Montreal. So unless someone steps up and buys the team from Silverman before then, the Rays very likely the last season here in Tampa, unless there's a new mayor who decides that he'll go with with him then with Stuenberg, then it looks like they will have the games in Montreal. They want to have a half a season there, half a season here. And Kreisman does not want that. He wants the team to stay permanently here and play all 81 home games here at Tropicana Field. The funny thing is, they had a stadium deal in Tampa near Ybor City, and they decided not to do it. I don't know what happened with the deal, but they decided to go against it, and now that basically is it. They, they decided not against going to Tampa. So again, guys, if you're a Rays fan out there, just hope and pray that they can get some kind of deal done, or ownership will be step up and they can get something done so that the Rays stay here in St. Pete and don't end up, half the games in Montreal and then half the games here in St. Petersburg. All right, guys, so let me go ahead now and jump into USF. If you did not hear this show last week, the USF Bulls have hired their 5th head coach in team history. Co-offensive coordinator of the Clemson Tigers, Jeff Scott, took the job officially last week. The press conference to announce him took place last Wednesday. He is excited to be here. Of course, now he will return to coach Clemson in their shot for a 3rd national championship. They are, of course, in the college football playoff, and they'll be playing the Ohio State Buckeyes in the first round. If they survive that, they will play the winner of the Oklahoma LSU game. Again, that could be Oklahoma, that could be LSU. And Clemson could get beat by Ohio State. So we don't know how that'll be as we get closer to New Year's. We'll, not next week, but next week I think is when we'll find out. Next week or the week after, earlier, we'll find out, where everyone is at. But Jeff Scott will be returning to Clemson to help them coach. This article that I have up, guys, on my computer is by Janie Dufresne of Bulls Stampede. The Daily Stampede, excuse me. That is the USF newspaper. Now, a lot of people are criticizing Coach Scott that he is not hot on the recruiting trail, that he is out trying to find boosters and trying to get the fans to come back to Raymond James Stadium. As a writer, and I've been a press credentialed writer thanks to iRock Media. Check out the website, guys. It's either iRock Media or WBLZ Media. Check it out. I have a lot of articles up there. Being that I've been a press writer for them the last 2 seasons that have had the opportunity to cover USF football, the attendance at USF football games, unless there's a huge traveling team, have deceased. And I mean, I was at games this year, not a lot of attendance, the fans, and this is something too. You can watch college football games all around the country. And what is the one area of the stadium that you see is the most full? That's right, the student section. Guys, I went to a few USF games this year, and there was nobody in the student section. It had gotten to the point here with Charlie Strong that the students were not even coming out to watch a football game at all. Jeff Scott said in his press conference he wants to get the students back. He wants to get the alumni back. He wants to get the season ticket holders back at Raymond James Stadium to fill it like it was when Coach Levitt was here during the early stages of this. Because, again, guys, I've talked to people who were alumni and have been season ticket holders to the Bulls, since the football program started. And they said that you couldn't buy a ticket for USF. For the Bucks games, they fill all 3 sections. There was all 3 areas of Raymond James Stadium filled to the capacity when USF was good. He is trying, guys, to go out and do that. Do just that. Try to get everybody back on track. Now, the thing that comes down to it is basically this. Now, he is, Adam, they do play at Raymond James Stadium. So now the question is, here's how the Daily Stampede did this. They're talking about, is he doing the right thing by not recruiting, but by, trying to get the boosters to come back? Here's some tidbits from the article. Charlie Strong did not like this part of the job. Charlie Strong is a football coach. He would love nothing more than to be left alone to coach his players and recruit. Talking to donors, schmoozing and hitting the reception and banquet circuit were not his favorite things to do, and they never have been, all the way back when he was at Louisville. We can say he wasn't good at chatting up boosters and big donors because we don't run any of those circles. We could say, backed up by similar stories from Louisville and Texas, is that the whole PR thing is uncomfortable for him, and his approach left some donors cold. Now, I could say this too, guys. If you haven't the chance to watch Charlie Strong's press conferences, either before or after a game, he does not like to be in front of the media. He is not one of those coaches who opens up in front of the media. He's not as bad as a Bill Belichick is, but he is not a very good media person. He basically does not like to be up there answering questions. So, again, that was something that he did that. Now, there have been some updates. 3-star Ocala Trinity Catholic outside tackle Miller Mayweather Lewis, he decommitted, but they did say that they got Oregon running back Darren Felix announced his transfer from Oregon to USF. So that's a big flip for the USF running game, because you're going to have Jordan Cronkite was a senior, so he is gone. Now you have Johnny Ford. Trevon Sands is also gone, so they're going to have to get some running backs, and that'll be big there. A high-dollar booster is like an expensive houseplant. It needs constant care, feeding, and attention, or it will wither away. If you're giving 5, 6, even 7-digit donations to a football program, you've earned the right to be heard by the people who are giving you your money. Your options deserve serious consideration. A new coach gives the program a chance to start fresh, mend fences, build new relationships, and rebuild trust. There has been some real neglect in this area over the years, and Tampa Bay is already a very tricky place to try to win a business community support. This is part of the reason why it's been so difficult to come up with money for the new football facility. It's hard to ask someone for a big check when they don't feel like they're a valuable part of the team. USF Athletics needs to start thinking long-term. What is the culture of USF football or athletics as a whole? Is there one? I'm not sure there is. It feels like the department has been stuck in a loop of short-term thinking over the years and years. Basically, ever since 2007, when the spotlight suddenly hit the department, was overwhelmed, and all they could do was solve a problem after problem on the fly. Even before that, the novelty of having a football at USF and moving up through the levels was the vision. The groundwork needed to convince the community to support a mature program was never laid, and the infrastructure to make sure that they were ready for it next time was never built. Clemson has that. It's not the best football program culture in all of college football. Jeff Scott was a big part of translating Dabo Swinney's vision into something that everyone could understand and rally behind. This is going to be a crucial skill at USF, where no one can articulate their vision for the football team other than, please God, just win a title someday. Now Scott only in Tampa Bay for a few years if he succeeds. Players run out of eligibility eventually, and someday Michael Kelly might be gone too. A thought that makes us cry ourselves to sleep at night. The only people you know are going to be around for the long haul are the boosters and the fans. It makes sense that there's the first group that needed to get on board with the vision of the program. Why be in such a hurry to save the class? I hate to break it to you all, but USF is not winning this league next year. If you ask me, just getting to a bowl game in 2020 would be an accomplishment. What difference does it make if they end up in 6th best recruiting class in the conference like they have now, or they're the 4th best or the 8th best? Another example of short-term thinking. I'm not saying punt the class completely because they're all still good players here. They're a low rank partly due to how few commits they have. It's not earth-shattering class, though. I think you're better off getting what you can, trying to luck in the transfer portal this year and making a big recruitment push in 2021. Excuse me, guys. I didn't mean to say that. People need to get off of social media. There's been a lot of people that have been talking about that as well. But as far as Jeff Scott goes, guys, he's trying to get out there and bring the boosters back. And then again, like I said, here we are again with, they're trying to, as Adam said a couple weeks ago, you have to think in the long haul with this team. And I really do believe that Coach Scott has the right mindset moving forward. Because of his vision, I think by going out, getting the boosters and getting the fans back. Because like I said, guys, let me just say this. Going to the games last year, other than the Wisconsin game, there was not a lot of people in the stands. I mean, like I said, a couple of the games I went to, especially near the end, the Temple game, the Cincinnati game, there towards the end of the last few home games I attended, there were not a lot of people in the student section. I wasn't there for the Memphis game. I was at the Lightning game that night. So I don't know what the student section was like there. But like I said, guys, it's just disappointing to go to a stadium, and especially a college stadium, and not see your students showing up for a game. That's just disappointing. So again, I agree with what the article was written, that I think that they need to, he's doing the right thing. Like I said, recruiting, again, it could be a big push for the 2021 season. I did hear when I was going to the Lightning game last Monday, in fact, that they said that they're projecting this team to go 6-6 or 5-7 in 2020. But then in 2021, they have the team going, moving up and going, say, 10-2 in the 2021 season. So we'll just have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see during how it all goes. And, well, what's up, Phil? We'll just have to wait and see what happens with them moving forward. But I do believe that Coach Scott's got the right thing going here. As I'm looking over, guys, I'm a big hat collector. I have 3 piles of hats, and it's funny, the hats on the top rows, there are 2 USF hats and a Gator hat, and it's the official university logo of the Florida Gators. It's the U, the orange U with the blue F below it with the state of Florida and the Gator standing on top of it. I'm hoping to get credits in 2021 because, again, on September 11th of that year, the Florida Gators will be here at Raymond James Stadium to play USF. So that's going to be a freaking good game. It'll be tough for me because I'll have both my favorite teams in one stadium. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But, yeah, I think I agree with the article. I think Coach Scott's doing the right thing. Let's look how it goes. If this team can win 6 games, win 7 games this year, that would be great. I think it would be a huge turnaround from last year. And you know what? And as far as winning a conference championship, that's not out of the woodwork either. So let's just, keep thinking positive about it. Keep thinking positive. I think, like I said, Coach Scott has it going right now and has it going the right way. So USF is heading in the right direction, in my opinion. We'll just have to hold back. And, like I said, guys, I hope to be able to go to the spring game in April when they play to see. Also, too, guys, I was going to let you know that Coach Scott is not retaining any of Charlie Strong's assistants. Kerwin Bell has been let go. They also have let go of the defensive coordinator, and they've also let go of Sean King. So, again, Jeff Scott will hire new assistants. He is not taking any of the assistants. And, to me, I'm not shocked. As far as I'm concerned, Kerwin Bell's offense just didn't work here. We don't have the right players to run that style offense. It looked so good, guys, at the spring game, but during the season, it just did not work. There was a couple games that did, but again, against weak defenses, against the pivotal defenses like the Wisconsins, the Memphises, the UCFs, it just didn't work. And but that is that, guys. So kind of. No, Phil, I think that they said it was more dumb of letting Sean King go than Kerwin Bell as far as recruiting goes. They were talking about that earlier on the radio today here locally, that they were surprised that they let Sean King go. But now remember, Scott's come down here and recruited pretty well for Clemson, so maybe he thinks he's got the hot hand where he doesn't need anybody down here. Again, we'll have to see if that comes back to bite him or if it doesn't come back. We'll have to wait and see how that all comes down. But that's it, guys. Like I said, no more assistants. Jeff Scott will be hiring new assistant coaches. I hope to have more USF news moving forward. Maybe I'll hear about the indoor football facility possibly being built here soon. That would be great to hear. So we'll have to wait and see on that. And again, too, also, this is really not anything Florida related, but again, if you guys did happen to catch the Army-Navy game from last Saturday, again, I never missed that football game. I don't think we were surprised at the outcome. I think the guys that were pulling for Army, were disappointed. Navy is a very good football team. But again, guys, there's a lot more meaning to that game than just a football game. Because remember, all the seniors in that game were not going, they're not going to go to the NFL draft. They're going to defend our country. They're going to be soldiers. And, for the Army, soldiers for the Navy. I mean, so again, guys, that's interesting how that goes. But anyway, guys, that's it for college football for now. Next week, guys, I'll probably get into some bowl games with Florida and Florida State and Miami. If the bowl games haven't happened yet, I'll have to look at the schedules. We'll talk about Bethune-Cookman and all of them as well. Yeah, Adam, I knew Navy was going to win the game too. I was pulling for Army, and fortunately, Navy pulled. They played a hell of a football game, and their quarterback is one of the best in Perry. So that was just interesting enough to say the least. So, guys, let me end with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Last Monday, coming into it, there was no game. There was no show last Monday. I was at the hockey game against the Islanders, and I just had let me just say this. I had an overall bad day last Monday at work, and then going to the game, and then going at the game when you see your team lose 5-1, and you are amongst all Islander fans who echo you about things. So that happened last Monday, but there were 3 games before tonight. The Lightning went 2-1 in those games and got 4 out of 6 points, which is great. They beat the Florida Panthers the night after, the night of my this show last week. They won 2-1. They beat Boston on Thursday 3-2, and then they lost to the Capitals 5-2. And then this upcoming week, guys, they're at home against the Ottawa Senators, who are one of the worst teams in all of the NHL, and the Dallas Stars, who are a mid-level team. And then we travel to Washington next Saturday. So they were here this past Saturday. Now we have to go to D.C. on the 21st. And then we have one more game, guys. My next show, next Monday, the 23rd, we're home against the Florida Panthers before we take the break all the way through Christmas until we get to Montreal. And then we have Detroit on the 29th. And then I might get with my friend Julia and go to her house and watch that game on Sunday. the 29th. And then, of course, New Year's Eve, we have the Buffalo Sabres at 7 o'clock in Buffalo. The funny thing, guys, if you're paying attention, we will have the Florida Panthers and the Buffalo Sabres done, and I mean done, before we even get to the new year. So we will have played all 4 games against. So far, we are 2-1 against Florida, and we are 3-0 against the Buffalo Sabres. Now, here's the thing, guys. You're looking at this. People are saying, okay, this team, they win 2 and they take a step back. Let's pump the brakes a little bit, guys. That's, again, like I said last week, let's pump the brakes a little bit here before we start. Before we start this, don't fret about it. Don't do it. Just don't. Because as of right now in the division, guys, we have 35 points. The third place team, the Montreal Canadiens, has 36 points. Toronto has 36 points also. We have 3 games in hand on Toronto and 2 games in hand on Montreal. We trail the Buffalo Sabres by 4 points, and we have 3 games in hand on them. So this is far from being over. This team does have a lot of work to do, but has improved from the months of October and November. I have seen improvements from the games I've watched. I think they're starting to find their groove. Look for them to dominate tomorrow night against Ottawa. I would venture to say that they're going to have a sour taste in their mouth after the loss on Saturday. I would say look for them to get back on track. But only being 4 points out of second place in the division, I'm not, it's not time to push the panic button. I don't think you really have to worry about that. This team will figure it out. All good teams do. The word adversity, or if I'm pronouncing that correctly, did not happen to this team last year, okay? This team did not yes, I did see Taylor Hall get traded to Arizona. But they, this team will figure it out. They didn't face any of this last year. This year they're facing it head on, and they're doing it very well. They've done a very good job the last few weeks. And like I said, they currently stand just 1 point out of third place in the division, which is a wild card spot. Or 1 point of being being one of the top 3 teams in the division. And like I said, you have Ottawa coming up, you have Florida coming up, and Detroit coming up. Those teams are all below the Lightning as we speak. And we have Montreal as well. I think did I say we're playing them? Yeah, I think we play the Montreal Canadiens as well. So they're all within striking distance, and so is the Buffalo Sabres, who we play on New Year's Eve. A matter of 2 weeks from tomorrow, we'll be playing the Buffalo Sabres for the final time during the regular season, and we have to play them in the playoffs, but at least the final time in the regular season, you'll have to play against them. But like I said, guys, don't push the panic button yet. Now, one of the things that happened in the Saturday's game, Nikita Kucherov got hurt. I'm looking that up right now. He is day-to-day after taking a shot off his right ankle on Saturday. They expect him to return before the Christmas holiday. Now, again, that could be this week, that could be next week, but that's pretty good news as well. So that's good news there. Tampa Lightning that's going 7-2-0 against the teams from the Atlantic. Last Atlantic loss came on October 12th when they fell to the Ottawa Senators. Okay, so earlier this year, guys, we already played Ottawa earlier in the year. Let me face back and see what the final score in that game was, because it was back 2 months ago in October. So let's take a look here and see what the final score was there. Okay, we lost 4-2 in Ottawa earlier this year. Okay, so even after the game tomorrow, we still have to play Ottawa 2 more times. once on the road and once at home. So if you think about that, at that time they had come off an overtime loss to Carolina. They beat the Maple Leafs 7-3. Then they would go to Ottawa, lose, and they won against Montreal and Boston. Then they went on to lose to Colorado, and then they beat Pittsburgh, and then they lost to Nashville in overtime, and they lost to the Rangers, and then the next night they had a wild game against the Devils. But again, guys, that's like I said, that was back in October of this year, just a couple months ago. So, this team has improved a lot. I'm happy to hear them say that Kucherov will be back before Christmas. That could mean maybe not be in the Ottawa game. It could be the Dallas game. It could be the Washington game this weekend. Or it could be the next home game that we have before the Christmas break. But that's pretty good news that he will be back. That's good news. For us Lightning fans, that's good news. Guys, like I said, I will be trying to go to at least one game or two games a month. It's been a blast. I've gone to at least one game every month since the season started. I went in October. I went twice this past month. I've been to 4 games this year, and they're 3-1 in the 4 games I've been to. And the only loss came just last Monday against the Islanders. That's been it. I am planning on in February. I know that's a couple months away. There's one team I have not seen the Lightning play yet, and that would be the Vegas Golden Knights. So, Adam, I think I would hold him out until the Washington game. I think we can beat Ottawa and Dallas without him. So, I think we could hold him out. I haven't seen them play the Knights. They're here in February. So that would be definitely something that I could say that I want to go do. I think I'm going to go to another game there at the end of the month. They play Chicago. I know I have my friend Corey, one of his friends, is a huge Chicago Blackhawks fan. So we'll have to set that up. Maybe we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out. But definitely good news about Kucherov, and definitely good that this team is starting to find, I would say, its identity, but just trying to find something going right for the Tampa Bay Lightning moving forward. Because, I think that and let's just say this. Let's say, they beat Ottawa, they beat Dallas, and then they can somehow beat Washington. Now you're looking at 6 points. Now you're looking at them being in second place in the division by the end of the weekend. So, like I said, next week when I come on here, let's hope that we've won 2 out of 3 again. Or hell, let's say we win all 3 of them. So let's just hope that we can do that, tomorrow night. We'll find out. I'll be watching the game as I get ready, for my week. And that's just how it goes, guys. It's interesting to say the least. But that's about it, guys. That's just how the Lightning have gone. USF, again, good. The Rays, not a lot of news on the Tampa Bay Rays again during the offseason. The Bucks guys are on a 4-game losing streak, looking to go to 5. This week against Houston on a Saturday, have a Saturday game. We'll have to see them as they play Houston. It'll be a tough matchup. The Bucks will have their hands full without Chris Godwin, without Mike Evans, possibly without Scotty Miller. So you're going to have to go out and get some wide receivers. Let's see if they make any moves this week to try to, get some veteran wide receivers. That should be interesting. I don't know how it'll work out. Rashad Perriman had 3 touchdown catches in his dad's old house. They're in Detroit. So that was interesting yesterday, to say the least. But, for the most part, everything is looking good for them. Like I said, next week, guys, I'll probably go over more, I'll get a little bit more into, the Gators, Knowles, Hurricanes, any of the bowl games that feature the Florida teams. I'm hoping, guys, to get credentials to the Outback Bowl that's here in Tampa. Again, that's no Florida teams. That's Auburn and Minnesota. But I'll talk about that as well. But as we always say, guys, that's the way it ends. And I'm going to go ahead and end my show here, guys. I want to thank Adam and Lucy and Julia and Ralph and everyone else who joined me on Facebook. Thank my producer, Breck, for helping me get started this evening and all that kind of stuff. But that is the way it goes, guys. And I want to thank you guys again for joining me. This is the Sports Nerd.
For 25 years, the Audi A4 has defined the essence of everything our cars represent. The epitome of a classic. The new Audi A4 is the classic reborn, redefining Ireland's most popular Audi model with cutting-edge technology and state-of-the-art design, giving you a driving experience that's sleeker, smarter, and sportier than ever before. Test drive the new Audi A4 today. Audi. Vorsprung durch Technik. For 25 years, the Audi A4 has defined the essence of everything our cars represent. The epitome of a classic. The new Audi A4 is the classic reborn, redefining Ireland's most popular Audi model with cutting-edge technology and state-of-the-art design, giving you a driving experience that's sleeker, smarter, and sportier than ever before. Test drive the new Audi A4 today. Audi. Vorsprung durch Technik.